Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about The Last Thing Mary Saw, which is a folk horror movie that recently hit Shudder, and is kind of different from a lot of the folk horror movies we've been talking about lately, because this one is specifically about a fucked up Christian family, a Calvinist family.
Yeah, very specifically. We'll get you. Now, a lot of you were like, oh, wait, how is that any different? Well, we'll get into that.
Well, we'll get into it. If any of you have watched the really awesome folk horror documentary on Shudder, they talk about how there's a very particular brand of American folk horror that instead of being like European folk horror, where the folk horror is this weird pagan community over here or something like that.
In Europe, it's the ancient pagan community.
Yeah, in America, a lot of folk horror centers around weird Christians.
Yes.
That have isolated themselves in some way and have gone overboard.
Yeah, because those are the people. Yeah. Those are the people who became like, oh no, no swamp witch. Yeah. Don't talk to her, she's nuts.
The American version of folk horror often has like basically evil Amish people or like evil Scientologists or not Scientologists is not the right word. Mormons
or Pentecostals
or just like really crazy backwater offshoots of Christianity.
Yeah, once someone's like holding snakes, you know something's off.
And this movie centers around a family of Calvinists in the 1800s. So not only are they a family of weird Christians, they're a family of weird Christians in ye olden times, and are therefore even more vicious and awful.
Yeah.
And this particular story centers around the eldest daughter who has been having an affair with their maid. And the family has discovered this, and the whole movie is about the aftermath of that, you know.
Yeah, basically, oh my god, our daughter's is queer.
Yep.
Yeah, something.
She's bringing Satan into our house with her, sexing and stuff.
Yeah, scissoring. God don't like that,
Funny enough, there's a lot of kissing, but you never I think there's one scene where it's implied they have sex, but there's never very explicit.
Well, no, it's not it doesn't go porno with it, but you can tell that they have. If they haven't done it yet, it's because they got interrupted.
Yeah,
it's not because they didn't want to.
Absolutely, but they're definitely it's a lesbian couple facing evil fucking matriarchal family, because at the center of this family is this matriarch, and it's kind of interesting because the movie kind of treats her like. In a lot of folk horror stories, you'll have, the evil witch. And sometimes it's an evil witch that turns out to be a good witch in a certain way.
Yeah, sometimes.
In The Vivitch, where it's it's an evil witch, but that's actually better than where
you started.
Yeah. And in this movie, the evil witch is the Christian matriarch, actually.
Yeah.
She's kind of treated in the same way that you would a witch in a folk horror story. So,
well, yeah, because she's actually got magic powers.
Yes.
There's a point, let me put it this way, in the Vivitch, whether or not something magical is happening is kind of saved for the very end. This one actually tells you about before the halfway point.
Oh yeah,
that someone's got magic powers, and it's so weird. You find yourself going, what?
Yeah. It kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. It's really wild. And once that happens, you have no idea where the story's going. You're just like, what the fuck is going to happen here?
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, one thing I do want to warn everyone about going into this movie is that this is not The Vivitch.
No.
The Vivitch is a very dark and grueling story that kind of ends on a weirdly uplifting note. This one is way more of a tragedy. You're not going to feel uplifted by the end of it.
No, it is a complete fucking tragedy.
Yeah.
Everything goes wrong.
This is like Romeo and Juliet, right? These two would have been happy and living a nice, happy life if it wasn't for all you fucks. That's kind of what this story is. So I'm going to warn you going in, because I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to be like, oh, hey, there's a lesbian love story going on here. I'm like,
yeah, but
it's a tragic one.
Well.
It's a tragic one.
Yeah,
so
it's oof. Yeah.
It's also a brutal one too. It starts off really slow, but when you get towards the climax, it gets pretty brutal, you know?
Yeah, once fucking Rory Culkin shows up, like the story kicks into high gear.
Rory Culkin is great in this movie too. Like, he plays this kind of like sleazy character that you're not sure if you can trust or not trust, and he kind of walks that dichotomy very well. Up until the point where you find out whether you can or can't.
Yeah, when you find out what he's actually about.
Talk more about that in the spoiler section. But yeah, like I liked him because you're never quite sure, like, is he a good thing or a bad thing? Until,
well, you're trying to figure out like what's his allegiance, what's his purpose.
Exactly.
You know? He's obviously trying to get shit to happen.
Absolutely. This movie also stars I forget the actress's name, but the actress from The Orphan, who played the orphan.
Yes.
She plays the maid in this that is in the love affair with with Mary, the main character, the daughter.
Yeah, something Isabelle, I believe.
Something like that. I'll put it right here.
Damn it. Yeah, you know? Like I just, it's one of those, oh man, I just had it.
Yeah. And she does a great job. Everyone does a really good job with this. I will also say this. Unlike the Vavitch, you're not going to have any hard time understanding the dialogue in this. The dialogue
That's true.
is very clear. They're just putting on like a slight accent to, you know, make it feel like it's old. They're not doing like ye old speak the whole time.
Right.
Which works. You know, it's
well, it's the 1800s as opposed to the 1600s.
True.
You know.
True. Absolutely. It's a very white movie, though.
Oh yeah. Well, it's about white people.
It's about white people. Yes,
you know, like this is
white people. These motherfuckers are so white. They have a white slave. I swear to God.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
It's wild. But yeah, it's a slow burn. So just be warned about that. It's gonna take some time before it starts to get going, and once it starts to get going, it's gonna get weirder and weirder, and you're gonna be like, "Where's this going?" And honestly, I wasn't sure for most of the movie where, you know.
Yeah, because you are kind of like, how's this gonna end?
Oh yeah,
you know, because there's a lot of. It's a movie that kind of defines dynamite for the bed, you know, or dynamite under the table.
Absolutely.
You know, because there are a lot of things that could happen, even though you know from the beginning of the movie that the girls get caught.
Yeah, yep.
You know.
The movie also has this bookend where you start off where a whole bunch of shit has obviously happened, and the main character, Mary, is basically being interrogated by a... Inquisition's not the right word.
Well, by essentially a constable.
It's a police officer basically. Yeah. You know, but they feel like the Spanish Inquisition because they're like, can you recite the Lord's Prayer? And like, if she can't, they're gonna shoot her in the fucking face.
Yeah,
it's like Jesus Christ. And that's like the opening scene of this movie. And she's been blinded, and the rest of the movie is telling us how we get to that point. What happens? What leads us to her being blinded there? And trust me, there's more that happens after the bookend. So, like, once we catch up, more shit happens beyond that. And I thought this was a really nice little movie. I think it's going to be a controversial movie because of how much of a tragedy it is.
Oh, yeah. Like,
I was reading what the director was saying about the movie, and the director really wanted to make a movie that was... he grew up in Italy, in a very Catholic kind of area, and one of the things that always bugged him about his religious upbringing was that Christianity has this tendency to treat itself like it's a very inclusive and open religion that's allowing everyone's God's children.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and so this movie was kind of his condemnation of that. You know?
You can tell.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell.
Absolutely. Which is very much evoked by a line that's uttered towards the midpoint of the movie about how God creates enemies in order to justify his own existence.
Yeah.
You know, like Lucifer fell, and without a devil, there is no God.
Exactly. You know, it's basically. I think the actual word was, God creates the enemy so he can do his good.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Very much kind of evoking how many religions, not just Christianity, but Christianity especially will do this, will create these scapegoats in order to justify everything
what it does.
Doing. Exactly. And I thought this movie was very effective in that message. That being said, because it's such a tragedy, some people are probably going to misinterpret the movie as like punishing the queer characters in the story. Whereas, no, this is a movie that's depicting the punishment of queer characters by the awful people, but it's very much condemning those awful people in the process.
While also making like this kind of like broader condemnation of Christianity in general. Yeah,
and I could see how some people would make that misinterpretation if you're just looking at the surface events that happened and using like a very particular lens. But if you ignore all the commentary that's happening, all the lines that are obviously like the voice of the author and stuff, like you can miss what the movie's actually trying to say.
Yeah, but there's a lot of those moments though.
Absolutely.
Where the author or the director is kind of peeking and going like, all right, just in case you missed it.
I thought it was very clear. clear.
Yeah, me too.
When I went to look up the director in interviews with the director, like there's one interview with him on The Daily Dead right now that just went up when the movie went up, and I was reading that interview, and it pretty much aligned with how I viewed like the movie, how I interpreted the movie. So I'm pretty confident in saying that our interpretation here is pretty much what the movie's about. So I just wanted to say that because I've already seen some people misinterpret the movie or take a much more negative message from the movie than I did. So I wanted to just let that be known.
Yeah, just chill you motherfuckers out.
Chill out. Movies on your side. On your side. It's just hard to watch horrible things happen to people that are 100% victims.
Yeah.
I understand that. I get that.
Yes.
I totally get that. And so, with that said, there's a dead chicken in this movie.
That's true.
Yep. Beyond that, no dead animals that I can think of.
Nope.
Dead children.
There are dead children.
As well as a lot of graphic goodness that happens towards the end of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But that is a conversation for in a couple minutes. Any more pre-spoiler thoughts that you got?
No, I kind of want to get to the spoilers.
Yeah. I like this movie. I recommend it. It's currently available on Shudder, so go check it out on Shudder. I'm not sure if it's a Shudder original or if it's just debuting on Shudder. Either way, Shudder's the only way to watch it right now. So go subscribe to Shudder if you haven't yet and go check it out there. We're not sponsored by Shudder. We're just very, very big fans. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let's move on to the spoilers.
Man. All right. So, probably the main thing you gotta wrap your head around is that the grandmother is Christian, but she is also an evil witch.
Yeah. Like what I love that towards the end of this movie, like when she comes back from the fucking
dead,
and has that moment where she blinds Mary, you're sitting there going like, yeah, this is interesting because she's ostensibly speaking for God, but she's clearly representing the devil.
Yes.
She
clearly represents evil.
Exactly. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting dichotomy. It's not something I've seen a movie like this do. At least not like this.
No.
It's very unique to this movie, where God and the devil are kind of one and the same in this instance.
Oh, yes.
Because God had to create the devil in order to
be God.
To be God.
Yeah.
Exactly. In my own words, justify his existence, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need God if there's not evil?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like why do you need guidance if there are bad paths?
Yeah. Why would you who's to say that God and the devil aren't in on it against you?
Exactly, and that's the kind of vibe you get by the end of this. This is just one much. Chess game,
Yeah. This is just all about creating evil.
Yeah, and you get like the vibe that the entire movie up to that point was basically God or the devil or whatever you want to call that thing that's talking through the witch at the end.
Yeah,
it's basically them creating a fable, them creating a tale in order to further God's agenda.
Yep.
And that's how I understand that, like, some people might interpret the movie as going like, oh, so this movie is like pro-God. No. It's condemning the fact that God,
God would do this.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, God's the bad guy. God just happens to win in the end.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tragedy in that way. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet. The families aren't right in what they do at the end of Romeo and Juliet.
Correct.
But Romeo and Juliet still end up dead, you know?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and there's no... The closest thing to a prince in this movie is the fucking constable. You know, like
I love that character because it's very obvious that he's a much more reasonable man than everyone else in the movie. Because he has that moment where, like, sure, he's still there when they're interrogating her and asking her, like, can you recite the whole Lord's Prayer? And his men is like going to shoot him in the face.
Yeah. He clearly believes in God, but he also believes that there is not a supernatural explanation behind this. This is something people did. And
I like that, like he's his curiosity, right? You know?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that keeps coming out throughout the movie is that curiosity is evil. Like, curiosity is evil or whatever. And ostensibly you have this man of God at the end who represents God and carries out God's will, but his job is to be curious. He's a detective.
Yeah. If he's not curious, he can't do his job.
You know, and I love that kind of, like, weird dichotomy you have there, you know, like it kind of shows just how messed up Christianity can be sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And in this case, in specifically going for Calvinists was a very particular brand of Christianity.
Yep.
But yeah, so basically, like, a huge chunk of the beginning of this movie is really fucking hard to watch because right away the family has already discovered that Mary and her girlfriend, you know, like, girlfriend have been seeing each other behind everyone's backs, and so they're already being punished when we're kind of introduced to them. Like, we're introduced to them having I think the first thing we see of them as characters beyond the bookend is kneeling on the rice with the wood blocks keeping their knees pushed into the rice and having to recite, like, prayers and stuff like that while they're in
pretty much the opening scene.
Oh man, that scene was so hard to fucking watch. Like, I'm a big fat dude, so it's hard for me to stay on my knees too long. And they're on fucking grains of rice with these things pushing their knees into the fucking ground, and I'm just like, that's painful as fuck. And there's multiple scenes of watching these two get tortured by this fucking family over this, you know? And this basically builds up to the point where eventually the two of them decide to kill the family, basically take them out and escape. But that goes horribly wrong. Not the least of which because one person decides not to take their coffee or their tea that they poisoned. And because of the introduction of the wild card in the story, which is Rory Culkin's character. Who's like this weird, like, leper's not the right word. He's
right. He's not actually a leper, but that's his position in the story.
That's kind of how they treat him. Because he's always wearing, like, the thing covering his face because his face is all messed up and he doesn't want people to react to the messed up face.
Right.
But he, like, enters the story, and, like, I love this character because you don't know where his allegiances lie, and at first it just seems like it aligns with himself. Like, he's the Han Solo, right? You know, but like a more evil Han Solo.
Yeah, he's just out for himself. That's it. Blah blah blah.
You know, because like he initially starts helping the girls, but then he rapes one of them, and then that girl fights back and chops off his finger, and then at the end of the movie he comes back, and this is where the tragedy comes in because he just straight up shoots one of them in the head.
Yep,
and that's when the first one of them dies. And I know you might notice I said the first one of them dies.
Yeah. There isn't a lot of living that happens by the end of this movie.
No, and then it finds out that, like, he was summoned there by the matriarch. But not really the matriarch, more like whatever the fuck is talking and enacting its will through the matriarch.
Yeah.
And I love that you, like I said, you can't tell if it's the devil or God.
Yeah. But what you really get in the story is that she's the witch and he's like her henchman.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, because throughout the movie you see her doing these weird magic things. Like there's a point where like they're not sure if they're hallucinating, and she's like floating the fucking maid, and like rips out her throat or like cuts her vocal cords, like, you know.
Yeah, so she can't talk anymore.
Yeah. It's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is fucking messed up. And she has magic. She just straight up did magic. Like,
yep.
You know, all right. So this isn't just going to be a period drama. This is a straight up folk horror story.
Yeah. Supernatural shit. Oh, also the first indication that something is really wrong is when there's the guard.
Oh,
the guy who guards the house and why he's still there.
Oh God, like they have this guard that's basically a slave, but he's a white guy. Which is not something that's common in American stories.
Like that's one of those. That's kind of there to demonstrate like how extreme the family is.
And know? Like he's a guard that basically has to. He's never allowed inside. He has to stay outside all day and all night guarding the house. And they tell a story about how he tried to escape at one point, and like they tracked him down and busted up his fucking ankle. Yeah. So that he can't anymore.
Yeah, so he can't run.
You know, so and they're like, it tells you how messed up they are, because there's this great scene where like one of the girls tries to like bring him into their side, into their plot to kill the family. By giving him a piece of bread, which is a great religious imagery, by the way, like breaking bread and all that stuff, you know. And he explains that food. He has this line where he's like, "Food sharpens the senses," but your uncle or your dad or whatever says that the lack of food sharpens mine.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh man, so not only is he out there, they fucking basically starve him.
Yeah. They starve this man to death.
Like, you know, Jesus fucking Christ. And that like just shows you how messed up this family completely is. Like, everything's fucked. Just fucked.
Yeah.
God, and this movie just, it goes, like, it's very slow, but it goes off the rails at a certain point.
Yeah, and also, like, everyone, for the most part, everyone is the instrument of their own destruction.
Absolutely.
They are the thing that causes the thing that kills them.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a big fucking thing that happens throughout this movie. Even the way people are poisoned, that happens, you know?
Yeah.
Why was everyone poisoned? Well, because... Like, there's even a point where one of the characters is talking to the matriarch, and they're worried about the repercussions of the way they're treating their daughter.
Yeah.
They're worried that it's not God's way to treat someone like this, and that there might be a wrath of God repercussion for that.
Yeah, which there kind of is.
Which there kind of is, in the form of them poisoning all their teas during a big dinner and everyone dying.
Yep.
You know, but that gets even more messed up because the dad gets mad at the son for indulging in sugar, so he takes away his tea and then gives the son the dad's tea.
Yeah, because the girl didn't want to poison the little kid.
Yeah.
You know.
And so he ends up accidentally poisoning his own son because of his worrying about him having the sugar, because it's too indulgent, because this is one of those families where every indulgent, it's even stated at one point in the story that every indulgence, every curiosity, everything that you crave is evil.
Yep.
And that you must not give in, you know. So the kid, like, taking in the sugar is like the kid's version of like an indulgence, you know, like a craving, you know. And so him having to take that away cost the son his life, you know.
Yep.
You know, it's sugar didn't kill him, the fucking
poison did. Yeah. Yeah, well that was man.
And the whole reason why everyone's poisoned is because they were punishing these two in the first place, and they had no way to escape, you know.
Yeah.
You know, even if
there's even a discussion as to why they can't just leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, after what they did to that dude, I can't blame them, you know. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, it's like if we get caught, it's gonna get so much worse. We have to just kill them.
I do like a lot of like the subtle religious stuff within the movie. Like there's a huge the place in, because this movie isn't anti-Christianity, but it's definitely condemning Christianity's problems.
Yeah.
And one great example of that is that the place where the characters find refuge for most of the movie is in the chicken coop.
Yeah, the hen house.
Yeah, in the what's it called? The animal place, the range where
where
Jesus was born.
Yeah, exactly. Manger like situation.
The manger, exactly. And that's where they find refuge from the rest of the family. So like there's like little subtle things that tell you that the movie isn't like anti-Christianity, but it's definitely very critical of it. In particular, this particular brand of it. And its hypocrisy when it comes to we're so open and accepting, but not you, queer folk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's I have a lot of like weird thoughts on like
it's a deep movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a deep movie, and it coincides with a lot of my own like thoughts on the way Christianity itself works.
Yeah.
And what it's actually about when you remove the text. Like when you, for lack of a better way of putting it, the worst thing you can do for being a Christian is actually read the Bible. Because nothing faster shines a light on the fact that Christianity is doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's not even working according to the text.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a weird.
And the text has problems. Right?
Yeah, the text itself has problems, but we're not even following that.
Yeah, true.
We're doing this other thing, and it's really bizarre. So you have to sit there and wonder, like, well, what is it that this ethos, this religion is actually instilling in people?
Yeah.
And the reality is, it really is blind obedience. It's trying to separate, it's there to separate the blindly obedient from everybody else.
Yep.
Because if you have the blindly obedient, you could just command them to do whatever you need.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the whole trick.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's this whole movie, is the people that aren't blindly obedient keep getting punished by the family, and then eventually the family is punished for that.
Yep.
It's really fucking... The other thing I like about this movie is there's this cool motif that kind of lets you in on what's happening with the movie, right? And that's that when there's a point in which they poison the matriarch, and the matriarch dies.
Yeah.
And there's this extended sequence that I swear is like 30 minutes of the movie, which is the funeral of the matriarch. And while at the funeral, her finger keeps twitching.
Yep.
In the coffin. And then eventually, it turns all black. Later on in the movie, after the whole family is killed, the matriarch rises from the grave, and we find out that God is speaking through her, or the devil.
If there's a difference.
If there's a difference. And she blinds Mary, and then Mary is left to face the repercussions for killing the family and all that stuff, which she ultimately does. The constable ends up having to execute her.
Yep.
Hanging her, and she's hung. And then the very last shot of the movie, is her hanging, and the camera panning down behind her, and her hands, which are tied behind her back, one of the finger twitches and turns black.
Yeah.
And I like this because it goes back to the line of God creates
the evil.
Creates the evil in order to do good. So basically, God has orchestrated this whole situation from the get-go. God has created another devil.
Yes.
In this form. And that is what God does, which I think that alone is probably the biggest condemnation of the religion that the movie makes. It's just like,
well, yeah, like it's interesting because it's something that's truly like, I don't know what exactly it is about the Abrahamic faiths specifically.
Yeah.
That all kind of have this like kind of worship of obedience itself.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other religions don't really.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of religions that are just about, or that are more about like Buddhism is all about like inner, like personal,
yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's way fucked up shit that happens.
Yeah.
But it's not fucked up in the same way. There's a very particular way of being fucked up.
True, yeah.
Because like, for lack of a better, for lack of a better way of putting it, in most Buddhist countries, there's still this concept of being obedient and respectful to your family.
Yeah.
Now, why that's not, that causes other troubles. It's not obedience for its own sake.
Yeah. I think it might have something to do with the fact that, especially Christianity, a little bit of Islam too.
Oh, yeah.
They both got tied in with, like, empires.
Yes.
And conquering.
Yes.
So, like, and when you're an empire, what do you want your subjects to do? Be obedient, right? So,
yeah.
Like, they got tied in with, like, empire building and stuff, like the Holy Roman Empire and, and shit like that,
Yeah, and what's one of the funny things is that the Chinese version of that did not move purely on religious lines. Yeah. It moved on a lot of different lines, and they did something that was very different from the other empire builders, which is rather than condemn everything from the people that they conquered, they just adopted it. They just took it.
That makes sense.
They were just sort of like, hey, nice cannons, ours now.
Yep.
Hey, trebuchets, we like that. All right, we're going to take them, and now we're going to hey, you, woodcutter guy, make 100 of them. Make 1,000, because that chucks flaming rocks really well, and we like that when we fucking sack a city.
And that connection between empire building and the religion extended into the colonial era.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Because, like, so much of it was going to other countries and converting people. Well, not other countries. Most of them weren't countries at the point. They were just people living the way they wanted to live, and we made and turned them into countries.
Yeah.
And making them adopt the religion.
Yeah. If it hadn't been for that, we probably would have simply integrated with the native population.
Yeah.
We would have made our own. There would have been a separate. Americans would be a different people. We wouldn't consider ourselves Europeans at all.
The weird thing about it, though, is that even with that, aspects of those cultures end up, like, becoming weirdly integrated into Christianity.
Oh yeah,
it's a concept.
You can't escape it. It will happen to one degree or another.
Even though it's like, let's convert everyone into Christians, right? But like then like certain pagan ideas start getting adopted into Christianity in the pagan countries that you've conquered, right? Now we have Christmas trees and shit like that, right?
We have Christmas trees. We have, and it affects more than the colonial culture itself. Yeah. It affects a whole bunch of shit. Like my favorite example being Louisiana voodoo has this one Loa called Madame Marie, who is Baron Samedi's wife. She's actually canonically a white woman. Oh, Madame Brigitte. I'm sorry, Madame Brigitte.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. She's actually a white woman. So basically, the blackest god got him a white woman. But here's the thing about her. She has red hair. Her name is Brigitte, which is a French bastardization of the Irish name Bridget.
Gotcha.
So she's actually a syncretization of the fact that one of the allies in that area of the slaves was this older Irish community that everyone forgets existed. The only person I've ever seen actually talk about the fact that, like, there's a connection between Irish people and Louisiana voodoo is Tori Amos. Like, she was like, wait a minute, there's actually, whoa, holy shit. Yeah, basically, like, a lot of Irish come into, like, the Louisiana area and then escape into the Appalachians in the, around Civil War times. And because they escaped into the Appalachians, they just kind of disappear because what are you gonna do? Are you gonna hunt them in the Appalachian Hills? Fuck that! There's no way. You can't have a battle up in there. That's not gonna work. The fucking forest will eat you alive.
Fair enough, yeah.
So those people tended to escape, but as a result, they've kind of been forgotten to a lot of history. You have to actually like track it down, and so you realize, oh wait. Here's where the African Orisha religions that were also influenced by the practices of places like Haiti intersects with white Irish people. And it creates this god, you know? It creates a specific god that exists there. It's really cool.
Really cool. That's fascinating. That's super fascinating. So The Last Thing Mary Saw.
Really good.
Really good movie.
Oh, by the way, Last Thing Mary Saw was Pussy.
There, you heard her here, folks. Anyway, my fellow Gorehounds, I highly recommend this movie. And with that said, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me on Twitch at Count_Jackula, where I stream throughout the week, but I try to always make it on Thursday and Sunday at roughly 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hope to see you there. We do a lot of things. We will talk about all sorts of... If you enjoyed the conversation we just had, I talk about that stuff all the time on the stream.
Absolutely.
Also, if you just like to watch a guy like bitch about horror games as he plays them, because I am really fucking particular about horror games. Like most people, it's like, hey, watch me scream as things happen. For me, it's more like, oh my god, what the fuck is this? This is some fucking bullshit right here.
I think your wife put it that you go on Alex Jones style rants about horror games.
I do. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is specifically about horror games that puts me in that mindset of, oh, fuck you. That was bullshit. You know it, game designer. You just fucked me. Kiss my ass. But the thing is somehow I'm still enjoying myself.
Yeah. Somehow the bitching is the entertainment.
Yeah. Right? Oh man, we came the stream I did right before we came over here. We went on this weird ass 30-minute tangent of, hey, what if we actually did redid Bayou Billy, but had it be slightly a survival horror game?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, exactly, wouldn't it? You know,
I was listening into one of your streams the other day, and you were for some reason going on like Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, the game wasn't giving me a lot. So I resort to the oldest trick in the book, which is celebrity impressions.
There you go.
All right, here we go. We're going into the dining room. Oh, there's a ghost. Oh,
and if you want more of that kind of shit, go to Jack's stream and enjoy.
And if you want to be alerted right when I go on, you can follow me on Twitter at CountingJack. And if you want to see what I put up on the internet when I'm on the toilet, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Satanic Jackula. How about you?
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru, and you can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, then be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. And what would be a good idea for a hashtag for this one, for our good folks that made it this far into the vlog?
I keep thinking evil Christian woman.
Evil Christian woman?
Yeah.
All right. Hashtag evil Christian woman. If you made it this far into the vlog, then I want you to comment below. And be sure to comment below using the hashtag evil Christian woman. That way Jack knows, that way I know, that way the whole world knows, and even Gomez, wherever he is out there, meowing in the distance, that you saw this vlog and watched it all the way through. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, we've got 2 more vlogs to record, so we're going to do that. And for those of you that are wondering, hey, you said you were going to do an unboxing. Yeah, it's taking a lot longer to edit than I expected, so this vlog is most likely going to come out before it.
We got a little experimental.
Yeah. I was originally going to make it simply, and then I made it unsimply. I got a bunch of new microphones for us to shoot with and stuff, and I've been experimenting with them, but that experimentation has been a lot of trial and error.
It's a new learning curve.
Yeah.
You know, it's you'll eventually get it down to the point where it's
it's just like done, this. You know? I'm also trying to teach myself how to EQ the microphones. Because one of the microphones we got is a lapel mic, and I've been wanting to try a lapel mic for our on-camera stuff for a while because it's just easier to shoot with. But
you don't have to worry about where the microphone's pointing.
Yeah, but lapel mics naturally have this very boomy sound that doesn't sound very natural, and you kind of have to EQ it to make it sound right.
Right.
You know, and so I've been trying to teach myself to do that, and it's been very trial and error. You know.
Yeah. You also got me for my birthday a mic that hopefully I'll be able to set up for Sunday's stream.
Oh yes,
that's gonna be interesting.
The Electro Voice RE320.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get that smooth
Yep.
Radio sound.
Jack's got a nice deep voice, and I've been listening to his streams lately and realizing that his old USB mic, he's had it for a decade.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's had it for a decade. It's been thoroughly used. But I think it's outlived its usefulness, and I think what Jack needs is a good dynamic mic to give him that nice radio voice.
Yeah, yeah. Now that like streaming's actually at the point where it's at.
Yeah, So I got him that microphone, and hopefully soon you'll be seeing him using it because the preamp for it should be arriving soon.
Yeah, it's getting preamps now. It's all getting fancy.
Yeah. I got a preamp too for my new AT4040 that I'm going to be doing voiceovers on, which taught me that apparently I have a sibilance issue that I didn't realize.
Really?
I think it's just the microphone, to be honest, the way it's kind of tuned. The way it has a little jump in the high end is right where my S's are.
Oh,
so
okay.
I kind of have to like EQ it out a little bit and to put a de-esser on it, which I never had to do before, but I have to do now.
Right.
It's kind of worth it because the microphone ultimately sounds better. It's just the S's are
the S's are a little like it's like yeah, that's one of the things about sound. Like it always when you upgrade, it's always a learning curve, but it always ends up better in the end.
Yeah. It's just about learning how to use the new equipment and yeah. So hopefully our videos are going to sound new and improved soon. I will eventually upgrade the boom mic we use for this recording. I want to get one with a little bit of a wider berth for when we're recording these vlogs.
Yeah.
But that's going to be down the line because I've already upgraded so many microphones right now. I'm a little broke.
Yeah.
And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and I'll catch y'all later.
I just realized that this movie's feels like a King Crimson song almost.
I can see that.
I
can see that a little bit. Yeah.
Grandma, what was it like? I can't do that, but
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.